Hello and welcome to this week's racing-based preview of Group 1 racing at Eagle Farm. We've got the Tiara coming up on Saturday, the last Group 1 race of the season. So as usual, to help me try and find the winner, I've got Rick Chapman along with me. And Rick, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm very good for a man of my habits, and I'm ready to win.
Okay, if you're ready to win, you got something picked out for the Tats for us, Rick?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say it's not a classic field, but I've seen on social media a few blokes bagging it, and it's a good field. Got 2 Group 1 winners in it. That's a good start. I would have thought that Sri Candy, if she was in it in the same form she was last year, she'd win it comfortably. But saying that, I've gone for one of the Group 1 winners, Precious Gem. I think she will park in about 6th or 7th position, and if Blake can get her out as they straighten up, she should finish brilliantly. Her win in Adelaide was great, and her Stradbroke handicap run was outstanding from the wide draw. I think it'll be her last run, and then they'll retire her, and it'd be a fairy tale story to go out in the winning note. She's drawn perfectly. I'd like to say and congratulate the handicapper for getting it right, 1, 2, 3, but of course they're all got 57 kilos, so it's based on prize money, the handicap, so we can't give credit where it should be due. But so I think the top 3 will fight it out, is what I'm saying. Precious Jam will win from Az Kadelia, who'll bounce back, and the inform there, what's her name? Danish Twist will be right. I love the fact that all 3 are back markers, and they'll get home very strongly.
Sure. Look, that's the big query, I think, Rick, is whether Az Kadelia can bounce back. I know Kieran Maher suggested, she was in the wrong part of the track last time, and just, that's what hindered her running on. But you look at Cradle Me, came along that same part of the track and got up and won in slightly slower time on the same day. So I wouldn't be giving too much to, being in that wrong part of the track. I think maybe she's just not going as well as she was in Sydney, and she is the class runner, but can she bounce back? That's the thing. I think yours, Precious Gem, was probably a better run than Az Kadelia's.
Well, it was, and class horses do bounce back, and I put her in that category. Went up against this sort of field in terms of Az Kadelia. The run would have to be considered disappointing. I've looked at it several times, and whilst I wasn't on her, I was on Blackheart Bart, but you could see that she was tracking up behind him, and she just didn't let down. I put it more down to second up syndrome, which is big ask to come up second up from a spell into a Group 1 race. So I'm prepared to forgive her, and probably will be on both horses, but at the price, Precious Gem did beat her home, and you've got to take that in consideration, and yeah, it'd be a good race.
Yeah, that's the point that you just raised, Rick. I'm prepared to forgive her too, but at $2.25, I'm not. So I'm looking elsewhere, Rick, and I think I've found one at big odds that can really win this race. I backed this. There's 2 fillies in the race, so I backed one of the fillies yesterday at $26. She's into 20 already. So I'm really keen on Blueberry Hill. If you go back and watch the replay of her last win at Ipswich, she came from 10 lengths off the pace, had to be snagged back towards the tail of the field, came 10 wide on the corner, rocketed down the outside and got up for a massive win. I think this filly's going places. You look at her form last prep, she's a Group 2 winner, a Group 2 runner-up narrowly as well. She finished 4 lengths behind Press Statement when she lost a plate that day in the JJ Atkins. And you look, 4 lengths behind Press Statement, that's pretty good form for a 2-year-old who was having her 6th run and probably over the top of that stage in her first campaign. So I think with a better prep this time, she's also coming into it at her 6th run, but she's a stronger 3-year-old now. And interestingly, gets first run at her home track at Eagle Farm, and I think that might pay dividends there. So at 26, I was glad to get on Blueberry Hill, and I'll be looking for a big run from that one.
Yeah, well, you make it sound like solid points. I don't rate her a shot at all. I actually think she'll finish in the bottom 3, simply because you've got 2 Group 1 winners carrying 57 kilos, and you've got a 3-year-old filly got 55.5. On a compressed weight scale, I think she's just too close. But, I'm never going to knock anybody's tips, and I don't think people ever should, because it's like trying to find a partner. You've got your own feelings, and so you've got to go with them. But So I will say to you, good luck. But it'll be interesting now that you've put her in on top, because I've got her in probably the last three. Makes it very interesting now, doesn't it? Can't
especially with the track conditions we're going to get, Rick. I think it's going to be in that soft range for sure. She's unbeaten in 2 starts on soft going, so I like that fact going for her as well. And just the way she finished last time, I know this is a Group 1 field. There's a couple of Group 1 winners in it, but the way she finished last time suggested she's a Group 1 horse. So, like I said, outsider, I'll be having a crack.
Yeah, good luck. Just out of curiosity, I haven't checked. What price is Precious Gem?
Precious Gem, $8 at the moment, Rick.
Oh, good. Well, it'll probably get out to about $8.60. That'll do me. All right, exact with Ascadelia.
Yeah, there's a few around that range, and I mentioned Cradle Me earlier, Rick. I think Cradle Me has to be a big chance in this too. And like, if the thought was right that the inside part of the track was off last time, Cradle Me's run has to be given more credit for coming along the inside and just winning as impressive as it was. It was a big win, and has to be a big chance. Yeah,
no, I think you're closer to the money with that selection than Blueberry Hill, but yeah, she was impressive, and she's a tough, mare at her peak, and when they're at their peak and they're tough mares, they put in, like Danish Twist will.
Yeah, well, you raised that concern about the weights, Rick, being with the 3-year-old fillies. This race has been run 20 times. 3-year-old fillies have won it 9 times. So if you're looking at the stats there, it's definitely in favour of the 3-year-old fillies.
No, I can't argue with stats, but one of those was Sri Candy, wasn't
it? Yep. There's been a few good ones, but there's been some average ones too. So for some reason, 3-year-olds just have a great. They've nearly won 50% of them, so it's a good stat.
Yeah, no, it's hard to argue that stat.
Okay, mate. Well, there's the big one done. So anything else that stands out on the card?
Oh, look, I think it's a good card. I wish I was a strong enough character to just tell my wife I'm flying up to Eagle Farm, go to the races because I want to win. Naturally, I'm not that type of person, but I'd like to be. I think Pajaro in race 4 is just sensationally placed, and if it gets out to $293, well, I think we start get in early and get a good whippy going. I believe that the other 2 races we should look at and touch on are the Group 3 races. Benzini, the Kiwi horse, is in the staying race, race 6, and he'll be about $4.40, and that's a good price for a horse in tremendous form. And we know those Kiwis, when they come across the ditch and they're in form during the Winter Carnival, they hold it. They're like, oh, gee, I think he's beautifully placed and a nice price too. And then we get down to the Healy Stakes, which is another Group 3 race. And again, a horse in form, Odyssey Moon, loved his win last start. He's always been knocking on the door. They want to get more black type behind him so they can pump up his credentials when he goes to start eventually. So I like him at about $6 as well.
Yeah, I didn't really fancy anything in the Healy, to be honest, Rick. But in the Tats Cup, I had Janoob down as a black booker from last start. I thought his run was pretty good and he looks ready to peak. So it's a tough one. You've got Benzini, as you mentioned, and also Tukanchu. That was a pretty big win last time in Sydney. So he gets down in the weights, up in class here. But yeah, I'll probably have something on Janoob.
Yeah, no, he likes it sting out of the ground too. So I've certainly got him in the mix, but I just love Kiwi horses in form in the Winter Carnival.
All right, well, there's some food for thought for Saturday. Hopefully we've steered people into some winners there, and if Blueberry Hill gets up, you'll hear me shouting from wherever you are. So good luck on Saturday to you, Rick. Good luck on Saturday to everyone watching, and hopefully we can all find a winner.
I shall have a plate of humble pie in front of me when next we meet on the Hangout if Blueberry Hill wins. But I will say to you, good luck. I love people having a little bit on outsiders. So because if we get more outsiders up, we get a better scope of racing and punting for people. So yeah, part of me will be cheering it for you.
All right, thanks, mate. As I said, good luck to everyone on Saturday, and we'll see you next week.
Yep, all the best, everybody. Good punting.